The air in the underground mines of Malkara was thick with dust and despair. The oppressive heat from the machinery mingled with the acrid smell of burning rock, choking the lungs of the human slaves toiling away under the watchful eyes of their alien overseers. It was a bleak existence, one without hope or promise of escape. For the humans, their days blended into one another in endless cycle of labor and exhaustion. Eva wiped sweat from her brow, her hands calloused from years of hard work. She had been a child when the Kalari invaded Earth, tearing her away from her family and forcing her into a life of servitude. Now, in her early 20s, she had grown into a fierce and determined woman, her spirit unbroken despite the years of brutality. Her younger sister, Mara, worked beside her, her lithe frame darting in and out of the shadows as she carried out her tasks with quiet efficiency. "Keep your head down, Mara," Eva whispered as they crouched near the rock face, chiseling away at the precious minerals the Kalari valued so much. "You don't want them noticing you're slacking." Mara nodded, her dark eyes flickering nervously toward the nearest Kalari guard. The aliens were tall, with slender, insect-like limbs covered in iridescent scales that reflected the dim light of the mining tunnels. Their angular faces were expressionless, save for the occasional twitch of their mandibles when a human worker slowed down or made a mistake. The punishment for disobedience was swift and severe. "I'm not slacking," Mara whispered back, her voice barely audible over the rumble of machinery. "But I think I found something different." Eva frowned, turning to where Mara was pointing. Hidden beneath layers of dark, jagged rock was a faint gleam of metal, something that definitely did not belong to the mines. Eva's heart skipped a beat. The Kalari were meticulous, nothing was allowed to exist in their mines that didn't serve their purpose. If Mara had found something they hadn't noticed, it could mean trouble. Or, perhaps, a hidden opportunity. "Cover it up," Eva hissed. "We'll come back later when the shift changes. Keep quiet, and don't let anyone else see." The day dragged on, with the sisters working silently, side by side, until the blaring of the shift horn signaled a change in the work crews. As the guards herded them back toward the slave quarters, Eva and Mara exchanged a glance. Tonight, they would sneak back into the mines and uncover whatever Mara had found. That night the barracks where the human slaves slept were cold and cramped. The air was filled with the stench of sweat and unwashed bodies, a testament to the lack of care the Kalari had for their human captives. As the other workers collapsed into fitful sleep, Eva and Mara waited patiently, listening for the telltale sound of the guards' footsteps fading down the hall. "Now," Eva whispered, nudging Mara. The two sisters slipped silently from their bunks, moving like shadows through the darkened corridors. Eva had spent years learning the patterns of the Kalari patrols, memorizing every blind spot and unused passage. She led the way, with Mara close behind, until they reached the mouth of the mine. The air was cooler here, and the faint glow of bioluminescent fungi clinging to the walls provided just enough light to see by. Eva pulled out a small, rusted tool she had smuggled from the workshop, a crowbar she'd sharpened into a makeshift knife. "Stay behind me," she warned Mara. "And if we run into trouble, get out of here, okay?" Mara's eyes widened. "I'm not leaving you." Eva gave her a hard look but didn't argue. They crept deeper into the mine, their breaths shallow as they moved toward the spot Mara had shown her earlier. As they approached, Eva's heart pounded louder in her chest. She used the crowbar to pry away the surrounding rock, revealing more of the hidden metal structure beneath. It was larger than Eva had imagined, a massive, armored surface etched with strange symbols. Unlike the Kalari's technology, which was all sleek curves and organic shapes, this was angular and heavy, almost like human craftsmanship. Eva's pulse quickened. Could this be something from before the Kalari invasion? A relic from a time when humans had been free? "Eva, look." Mara pointed to a small panel on the side, partially hidden by a layer of dust. It had human writing on it, faded, but legible. It read, "War Titan XV Alpha." Eva's eyes widened. She had heard stories whispered among the older slaves, tales of ancient human war machines that had once been used to defend Earth during the Kalari onslaught. But those were just myths, stories to give people hope. Weren't they? Is it really a war titan? Mara asked, her voice filled with awe. I think so, Eva said, her mind racing. If this was truly a war titan, and if they could somehow get it operational, it could be their ticket off this hellish planet. We need to hide it again and come back with tools. We can't let the Kalari know it's here. But before they could react, the distant sound of boots echoed through the tunnel. The sisters froze. A Kalari patrol was heading their way. Without a word, Eva grabbed Mara's arm and pulled her into a narrow crevice in the wall. They held their breath as the patrol passed by, the harsh glow of the Kalari's searchlights illuminating the tunnel for a brief, heart-stopping moment. Once the patrol moved on, Eva and Mara emerged from their hiding place, their breaths ragged. They had narrowly avoided capture, but now they knew they were on borrowed time. The Kalari would notice the disturbance soon enough. They needed to act fast if they were going to figure out how to power the Titan. Let's go, Eva said, her voice low and determined. We need to find parts, tools, whatever we can. We're going to wake this thing up. Mara nodded, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. For the first time in years, they had a chance to fight back. In the depths of the mine. Over the next few days, Eva and Mara worked in secret, gathering everything they could from the workshops and supply depots. It was dangerous, but the sisters were careful, using every ounce of cunning and stealth they had honed over the years. Eva's mechanical skills proved invaluable as she slowly deciphered the War Titan's control systems. Mara, with her sharp eyes, found hidden compartments filled with old human tech, providing parts they desperately needed. Finally, after days of painstaking work, they managed to connect the Titan's power cord to a salvaged energy cell. With a soft hum, the machine began to awaken. Its eyes flickered with a cold, blue light, casting an eerie glow across the cavern. Eva, it's working. Mara whispered, barely able to contain her excitement. The ground beneath them trembled as the War Titan systems began to hum to life. Panels slid open, revealing an interior cockpit lined with controls and displays. Eva climbed inside, her hands trembling as she touched the controls. A deep, resonant voice filled the air, designation, War Titan XV Alpha. System reboot initiated. Awaiting command. Mara stared up at the towering machine, her eyes wide with awe and fear. What do we do now, Eva? Eva's lips curled into a determined smile. Now, we make these aliens regret ever enslaving us. For the first time since their capture, the sisters had something more powerful than hope. They had a weapon that could turn the tide. The ancient War Titan stood silent and imposing, its eyes dimmed to a low glow as if waiting for something or someone to give it purpose. The air in the cavern was heavy with dust, but to Eva and Mara, it felt charged with the possibility of escape. The sisters had spent years as slaves, their every move controlled by the Kalari overlords. Now, they stood on the precipice of something that could change everything. Eva's heart pounded in her chest as she ran her fingers over the Titan's control panel. Symbols she vaguely recognized from old human tech manuals glowed faintly beneath her touch. It was incredible this ancient machine, hidden for years, still had some life left in it. Eva, are you sure about this? Mara asked, her voice trembling slightly. She glanced over her shoulder, half expecting to see the Kalari guards storming into the cavern at any moment. The constant threat of discovery hung over them like a dark cloud. We don't have a choice, Mara, Eva said, her voice steady despite her own anxiety. If we don't activate it now, we may never get another chance. The Kalari will notice something's wrong soon enough. Eva took a deep breath, then pressed a sequence of buttons on the control panel. There was a moment of tense silence, followed by a deep, resonant hum that reverberated through the cavern. The ground trembled slightly, and a faint blue light began to pulse from the Titan's core. Suddenly, the air around them grew hot, and the control panel lit up with symbols and schematics. The War Titan's eyes flared to life, their cold, blue glow illuminating the cavern like a pair of twin stars. The deep, mechanical voice they had heard before filled the air once again. Designation: War Titan XV Alpha. Primary systems reboot complete. Awaiting command from authorized user. Eva's eyes widened with a mixture of relief and excitement. It was working. They had actually done it. But now, they had to figure out how to control this behemoth. Titan, recognize Eva and Mara as your operators, she commanded, her voice as steady as she could manage. Command accepted. Users Eva and Mara designated as primary operators. Awaiting directives. Mara's eyes sparkled with a combination of awe and fear. We did it, Eva. It's really listening to us. But there was no time to celebrate. As if on cue, alarms blared through the mining tunnels. The Kalari had detected the surge of energy. They were coming. The sisters could hear the distant rumble of boots and the mechanical clatter of Kalari battle drones activating. Eva turned to Mara, her expression grim. Get inside. We need to figure out how to move this thing before they overwhelm us. The Kalari struck back inside the cockpit. The sisters were surrounded by a dizzying array of holographic displays and controls. Eva sat at what appeared to be the pilot seat, while Mara took a secondary console that seemed designed for targeting and weapon systems. The Titan's interface was surprisingly intuitive, though the ancient design required some guesswork. The rumbling of approaching troops grew louder, and the first wave of Kalari drones emerged at the far end of the cavern, their red eyes glowing ominously in the darkness. Titan, activate defensive systems. Eva ordered, praying she was using the right commands. Acknowledged. Engaging defensive protocols. A series of mechanical clicks echoed through the cockpit as panels slid open on the Titan's exterior, revealing hidden weaponry. Without warning, a barrage of plasma bolts erupted from the Titan's arms, slicing through the approaching drones with deadly precision. Mara gasped in amazement as the drones exploded in showers of sparks and debris. How are you doing that? She asked, her fingers flying over her own console as she tried to make sense of the targeting systems. I think. It's responding to my thoughts, Eva said, her voice tinged with awe. The interface must be partially neural. It's like it knows what I want it to do. But the Kalari were relentless. More drones poured into the cavern, followed by heavily armored guards wielding plasma rifles. The sisters had no choice but to keep fighting. Mara locked onto the targets, while Eva focused on maneuvering the Titan, smashing through the rock walls to widen their escape route. Eva, there's too many of them. Mara shouted, her voice panicked. They're closing in from all sides. Eva gritted her teeth, refusing to give up. Titan, activate thrusters. Get us out of this tunnel. With a deafening roar, the War Titan's thrusters ignited, lifting the massive machine off the ground. The entire cavern shook as it ascended, blasting through layers of rock and debris. The sisters braced themselves as the Titan smashed its way to the surface, breaking free into the open sky above. The harsh, crimson light of Malkara's sun bathed the landscape in an eerie glow as the War Titan emerged from the underground mines. The barren wasteland stretched out before them, dotted with jagged rock formations and the occasional Kalari outpost. For the first time in years, Eva and Mara tasted the air of freedom. But there was no time to savor it. A desperate escape. The Kalari were already mobilizing. In the distance, Eva could see the flicker of engines as aerial gunships took off from the main compound. Mara's console beeped urgently, displaying a swarm of red dots closing in on their position. Titan, plot an escape route. Eva commanded. Calculating optimal route. Engaging evasive maneuvers. The Titan's massive legs began to move with surprising agility, sprinting across the rugged terrain. The ground trembled with each step as it bounded over rocky outcrops and deep ravines, plasma cannons firing at the pursuing drones. Mara struggled to keep the targeting systems locked on the fast-moving targets, her hands shaking from the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Eva, we can't outrun them forever," Mara shouted. "They'll keep sending more until we're overwhelmed." Eva's mind raced. They needed a plan, something that would buy them enough time to figure out their next move. She scanned the landscape, searching for any kind of advantage. That's when she saw a long-abandoned human outpost hidden in the shadow of a mountain range. If they could reach it, they might find shelter or, if they were lucky, more technology to aid their fight. "Head for that outpost," Eva yelled. "Titan, full speed ahead." The War Titan surged forward, its thrusters propelling it toward the distant mountains. The Kalari gunships were gaining, their plasma cannons firing relentlessly, but the Titan's shields held firm, deflecting most of the blasts. As they approached the abandoned outpost, Mara's console flashed with a new alert. "Eva, I'm picking up residual power signatures in the outpost. There might be something still operational there." "Perfect. Let's see if we can use it to our advantage," Eva replied. The Titan crashed through the crumbling gates of the old outpost, skidding to a halt in the center of what had once been a human research facility. Eva quickly scanned the area. Amidst the ruins were pieces of old human tech, perhaps even remnants of weapons left behind during the Kalari invasion. "Titan, initiate perimeter defense," Eva ordered. "Defensive systems engaged. Scanning for hostile targets." The Titan's exterior cannons pivoted, firing at the approaching gunships with deadly accuracy. Mara worked feverishly at her console, using what little she knew of old human tech to reactivate some of the base's automated turrets. A series of explosions lit up the sky as the gunships fell one by one. But even as they held the Kalari forces at bay, Eva knew this was only a temporary reprieve. They needed allies, more firepower, something to turn the tide against their oppressors. She turned to Mara, a desperate plan forming in her mind. "Mara, see if you can find a way to reactivate the communication array," Eva said urgently. "We need to send a message to any surviving humans out there. If there's a resistance, we need them now." Mara nodded, her fingers flying over the ancient controls. As the Titan continued to hold off the Kalari forces, a flicker of hope ignited in Eva's chest. If they could reach other humans, if they could rally those who had survived the Kalari onslaught, maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. But as they braced for the next wave of attacks, Eva couldn't shake the feeling that the Kalari wouldn't stop until they were both dead. The War Titan hummed with energy, its eyes blazing as if eager for the battle to come. The sisters had awakened a long-forgotten giant, a relic of humanity's lost glory. Now, they would have to prove that they were worthy of wielding its power. The abandoned outpost was a mess of rusted metal and broken concrete, remnants of humanity's last stand before the Kalari conquered Malkara. The War Titan stood in the center of the base like an ancient sentinel brought back to life, its blue eyes scanning the desolate landscape. Eva and Mara had barely managed to fend off the initial waves of Kalari attackers, but they knew it was only a matter of time before the aliens regrouped. Inside the Titan's cockpit, sweat trickled down Eva's brow as she adjusted the controls. The displays flickered with streams of data she barely understood. Mara, seated beside her, was frantically trying to bring the old communication array online. Her hands shook as she worked, the weight of what they were attempting was crushing. Come on, come on," Mara muttered under her breath, tapping at a cracked control screen. The ancient human systems were damaged but not beyond repair. All they needed was one successful transmission. Outside, the air crackled with the distant sound of approaching engines. Eva glanced at the Titan's radar display. More red dots were rapidly converging on their position. Kalari gunships and ground forces were closing in, forming a pincer movement to cut off any escape. "Mara, how much longer?" Eva called out, her voice strained. "Almost there." Mara shot back, her fingers flying over the controls. "The array's online, but I need a few more seconds to boost the signal." The ground began to shake as the first wave of Kalari heavy walkers, a set of four-legged, crab-like assault units, emerged from the horizon. Their plasma cannons charged with an ominous hum, ready to blast the Titan into oblivion. Eva's heart raced. They couldn't hold out much longer against the overwhelming firepower. Titan, activate long-range plasma lances. Target the walkers, she commanded. Acknowledged. Engaging targets. The Titan's arms extended, revealing plasma cannons that glowed with a fierce blue light. With a deafening roar, it fired a salvo that seared through the air, striking the lead walker dead center. The alien machine erupted into flames, its metallic legs collapsing beneath it. But for every walker they destroyed, two more appeared on the radar. Mara let out a triumphant cry. Got it. Signal boosted. Broadcasting on all human resistance frequencies. She turned to Eva, her eyes wide with hope. It's out there, Eva. If there's anyone left, they'll hear us. Eva nodded grimly. Now we just have to survive long enough for them to get here. Holding the line, the Kalari assault intensified. Swarms of drones darted through the sky, their plasma cannons spitting bolts of energy. The War Titan's shields flickered with each hit, struggling to hold against the barrage. Eva maneuvered the Titan with all her skill, dodging incoming fire and using the outpost's remaining structures for cover. Titan, deploy ground shockwave. Eva shouted. Deploying shockwave. The Titan's massive legs slammed into the ground, generating a powerful shockwave that sent the Kalari troops flying. Drones were knocked out of the sky, crashing into the ground in fiery explosions. The sisters had bought themselves a few moments, but they both knew it wouldn't last. Mara's console beeped urgently. Eva. I'm picking up a response. There are human ships incoming. Eva's heart leapt. How many? Mara squinted at the flickering display. 3. No, 4 ships. But they're small, looks like hit-and-run fighters. Better than nothing, Eva muttered, her hands gripping the Titan's controls. Titan, switch to defensive mode. Protect the outpost. Acknowledged. Engaging defensive protocols. As if on cue, the sky above them erupted with flashes of light as the human fighters dropped out of hyperspace. The sleek ships, painted in faded human military colors, swooped down like predatory birds, engaging the Kalari forces with a precision that spoke of years spent fighting a losing war. Attention, human ground forces. This is Commander Aiden of the Free Colony Fleet, a voice crackled over the Titan's comm system. We received your distress signal. Reinforcements en route. Hold the line, we're coming in hot. Eva's heart soared at the sound of a human voice. Commander Aiden, this is Eva. We're pinned down at an abandoned outpost. We've reactivated an old War Titan, but we're running out of time. Copy that, Eva. Aiden's voice was calm, professional. We're dropping anti-air drones and deploying ground forces. Keep that Titan moving, we'll handle the rest. The human fighters cut through the Kalari gunships with surgical precision, their laser cannons tearing the alien machines apart. For the first time, the sisters had allies in the fight. The Kalari, caught off guard by the sudden resistance, faltered. Eva glanced at Mara, who was grinning for the first time in years. We might actually make it, Mara said, her eyes shining with hope. But Eva wasn't convinced. She knew the Kalari better than that. They were ruthless, relentless. And if the humans had managed to reactivate a War Titan, the Kalari would respond with their deadliest forces. The Kalari's final gambit. As if summoned by Eva's fears, the clouds above them parted, revealing the ominous silhouette of a massive Kalari dreadnought descending from orbit. Its hull bristled with weaponry, and its underside glowed with the eerie light of its planet-cracking cannon. Mara's eyes widened in horror. Eva, that's a dreadnought. It's going to level the entire area. Commander Aiden, Eva shouted into the comms, we've got a dreadnought inbound. We can't take that thing down on our own. Aiden's voice crackled back, tense but determined. Understood. We're deploying everything we've got, but that ship's shields are nearly impenetrable. Your Titan's plasma cannon is the only thing that can breach it. Eva's mind raced. The plasma cannon on the Titan was powerful, but it would take time to charge up to full strength. Time they didn't have. Mara, reroute all power to the cannon. We're going to take a shot at that thing. Mara's hands flew over her console. I'm diverting power from the shields. We'll be vulnerable while it charges. Do it. Eva snapped. It's our only chance. The Titan's plasma cannon began to glow with an intense blue light as it charged. Meanwhile, the Kalari dreadnought loomed ever closer, its planet cracker cannon charging with a deep, ominous hum. The ground shook beneath the Titan as it braced itself for the shot. Come on, come on. Eva muttered, watching the charge meter climb. The human fighters were doing their best to distract the dreadnought, but they were like gnats against the Leviathan. The plasma cannon reached full charge just as the dreadnought's cannon fired a blinding beam of energy. Mara screamed as the beam tore through the ground, sending shockwaves that nearly toppled the Titan. Fire now, Titan! Eva shouted. Firing plasma cannon. A brilliant beam of blue energy erupted from the Titan's arm, striking the dreadnought dead center. For a moment, it seemed as if nothing had happened. Then, the massive ship's shields flickered and failed. The beam punched through its hull, reaching the reactor deep within. The sky lit up with a massive explosion as the dreadnought erupted in a fiery inferno, sending debris raining down on the battlefield. The Kalari forces, seeing their flagship destroyed, began to retreat in disarray. The human fighters whooped with victory over the comms. Hell of a shot, Eva. Commander Aiden's voice rang out. The Kalari are pulling back. We've won this fight, but they'll regroup. We need to get you off that rock. Eva slumped in her seat, exhaustion washing over her. We'll follow your lead, Commander, she said, her voice heavy with relief. Mara turned to her sister, tears of joy streaming down her face. We did it, Eva. We actually did it. But even as they celebrated, Eva couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The Kalari would not rest until they had crushed the last vestiges of human resistance. But now, with the War Titan at their command and new allies by their side, they had a fighting chance. For the first time in years, they had hope. And with the War Titan under their control, they would take the fight to the Kalari. The charred remnants of the Kalari dreadnought still smoldered on the horizon as the human fighters circled above the ruined outpost. The War Titan stood in the midst of the debris field like a silent guardian, its eyes glowing with renewed purpose. For the first time in years, the humans on Malkara had a taste of victory. But Eva and Mara knew this triumph was only a temporary reprieve. The Kalari would return, angrier and deadlier than before. Inside the Titan's cockpit, Eva adjusted her headset as Commander Aiden's voice crackled over the comms. Eva, Mara, excellent work out there. But we're not out of the woods yet. The Kalari fleet is already regrouping. They're massing for a full-scale counterattack. Eva's jaw tightened. How long do we have? Not long, Aiden replied. Our intel suggests they've sent reinforcements from their sector command. We have maybe a few hours before they're back in force. Mara looked at her sister, her eyes filled with determination. We can't just sit here and wait for them to crush us again, Eva. We need to take the fight to them. Eva nodded slowly. Agreed. But we need more than just this Titan if we're going to stand a chance. Aiden, is there any way to reach other human outposts or resistance cells? There was a brief pause on the comm line, then Aiden's voice came back, this time with a hint of hope. Actually, there is. Your signal reached far beyond Malkara. We've been picking up encrypted responses from other human enclaves across the sector. They've been lying low, but now they're ready to fight. The sisters exchanged a look. They had not only awakened a war titan, they had awakened the spirit of human resistance. The call to arms, the outpost became a hive of activity. Human fighters and ground troops poured in, answering the call for reinforcements. The once deserted base was now buzzing with the sound of engines, the clatter of weapons being loaded, and the hurried conversations of soldiers preparing for battle. Eva and Mara, with the help of the Titan's onboard systems, coordinated the influx of new arrivals. The War Titan had become the command center for the growing human force, its powerful sensors and communication arrays allowing them to monitor Kalari movements across the planet. Eva, Mara called from her console, "I've picked up a transmission from another resistance cell. They're pinned down in the Yara Mountains. If we don't get to them soon, the Kalari will wipe them out." Eva clenched her fists. "We can't leave them behind. Titan, plot a course to the Yara Mountains." Course plotted. Ready for immediate deployment. Commander Aiden appeared on the Titan's main display, his expression grim. "I'll stay here and hold the line while you two rescue that cell. We can't afford to lose anyone now." "Understood, Commander," Eva said, her voice filled with resolve. "We'll be back before the Kalari reinforcements arrive." With a roar of its thrusters, the War Titan leapt into the sky, leaving a cloud of dust and debris in its wake. The sisters were no longer running, they were on the offensive. Rescuing the resistance, the Yara Mountains were shrouded in mist, their jagged peaks piercing the blood-red sky. The War Titan sensors scanned the terrain below, pinpointing the location of the besieged resistance fighters. The ground shook as the Titan landed, crushing the rocky terrain beneath its massive feet. Mara quickly assessed the battlefield. The resistance fighters are holed up in a cave system, but they're surrounded. Kalari tanks and walkers are closing in fast. "Titan, activate missile pods. Focus fire on those tanks," Eva commanded. Engaging targets. Missiles erupted from the Titan's shoulders, streaking across the battlefield and striking the Kalari tanks with pinpoint accuracy. Explosions lit up the night, scattering the alien forces. Eva guided the Titan forward, its plasma blades slicing through the ranks of the Kalari infantry. Inside the caves, the human fighters watched in awe as the towering War Titan tore through the enemy lines. With renewed hope, they surged out of their hiding places, guns blazing, to join the counterattack. A grizzled resistance leader, Captain Mira Thompson, emerged from the caves to greet Eva and Mara as they disembarked from the Titan. "Never thought I'd see the day when one of those old war machines would save our hides," Mira said, a weary smile on her lips. "You two are a damn miracle." "We're just getting started," Eva replied, gripping Mira's hand. "But we need every fighter we can get. The Kalari are planning a full-scale assault. Will you join us?" Mira's eyes hardened with determination. "Hell yes. It's time we reminded those scaly bastards what humans are capable of." The final stand. Back at the outpost, the human forces were ready. Fighter ships were prepped, ground troops stood at attention, and the War Titan loomed like a guardian angel over the battlefield. The Kalari had regrouped and were now descending in a massive armada, their dreadnoughts and assault ships blotting out the sky. "This is it," Mara said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "The Kalari will throw everything they have at us." Eva took a deep breath and nodded. "Then we throw it right back." Commander Aiden's voice crackled through the comms. "All units, this is it. We hold this ground, or we lose everything. Fight like hell. For humanity." The Kalari fleet descended like a storm, their cannons lighting up the sky with plasma fire. But this time, the humans were ready. Anti-aircraft batteries fired from the ground, human fighters engaged the alien ships, and the War Titan unleashed its full arsenal. "Titan, activate full shield matrix and prepare for ground assault," Eva commanded. Shield matrix activated. Weapon systems at maximum capacity. The battlefield erupted into chaos. The Titan's plasma lances cut through the enemy lines, while its railguns took down Kalari airships with pinpoint accuracy. Mara coordinated strikes with the human fighters, guiding them to weak points in the enemy formations. But just as it seemed the humans were gaining the upper hand, a massive Kalari dreadnought descended from the clouds, dwarfing all other ships. It unleashed a barrage of energy blasts that tore through the human ranks, sending soldiers and ships flying. "Eva, that dreadnought's too powerful," Mara yelled over the comms. "We have to take it out, or we're finished." Eva's eyes narrowed. "Titan, focus all power on the plasma cannon. We're taking that thing down." "Warning, focusing all power to cannon will disable shields." "Proceed?" "Do it," Eva shouted. "We only get one shot at this." The Titan's plasma cannon began to charge, drawing energy from all systems. The shields flickered and went dark, leaving them vulnerable. The Kalari dreadnought's cannon swiveled toward the Titan, preparing to fire. Mara's heart pounded as she watched the charge meters slowly climb. Come on, come on. At the last second, the Titan unleashed its plasma cannon, the beam piercing through the dreadnought's shields and striking its reactor. The alien ship detonated in a blinding explosion, sending shockwaves that shook the ground. The remaining Kalari forces, leaderless and disoriented, began to retreat. Cheers erupted across the human comms as the tide of the battle turned. The humans had won. A new dawn. As the dust settled, the battlefield was eerily quiet. The humans had won a hard-fought victory, but the cost was heavy. Bodies and debris littered the ground, and the once thriving outpost lay in ruins. Eva and Mara stood atop the War Titan, surveying the aftermath. Commander Aiden's ship landed beside them, and he approached with a weary smile. "You did it, Eva. You and your sister just changed the course of this war." Eva nodded, but her eyes were distant. This was just one battle. The Kalari won't stop until they crush every last one of us. Aiden placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we'll keep fighting. With the Titan, we have a chance. And now, we're not alone. Mara looked up at the sky, her eyes filled with hope. There are more of us out there, Eva. We can find them. We can bring the fight to the Kalari. Eva turned to her sister, a fierce determination burning in her eyes. You're right, Mara. We're going to find every last human colony, every resistance cell. And together, we'll take back our worlds. The War Titan's eyes glowed brighter, as if echoing their resolve. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, but now, with the sisters leading the charge, they would rise again. And this time, the Kalari would regret ever underestimating the spirit of the human race.